Welcome on in to the Full Court Press. Jason Walker here. We'll have Eric Frandsen on in a moment. He's once again caught up in what was looking like an important meeting. I saw him across the hall and was like, yeah, he looks like he's doing something important at the moment. So Eric will be on along in a minute, or at least I hope he is. He didn't tell me he wasn't going to be on today's show, but we got a full show planned for you guys here on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM The Fan, streaming online at 1069thefan.com and on the 1069 The Fan mobile app. We're also live on YouTube, as we have been for the last couple of weeks. So The Fan at KLGN is the YouTube account. That's The Fan at KLGN, as we're getting our video streaming sea legs underneath us, getting into a bit of a groove. So feel free to say hi there, or also say hi on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line, 435-339-0321. That's the number you can text to be part of this show, be part of our show as we preview Utah State's upcoming game against Grand Canyon. The Aggies have lost 2 straight games, and they want to try and make sure that they don't make it 3 in a row. I don't know when the last time the Aggies have lost 3 games in a row. I probably should have looked that up, because they lost 2 in a row this year. They didn't ever lose 3 in a row last year. They had a couple 2-game losing streaks last year. So they obviously didn't do it under Danny Sprinkle or the second year. I think it was the first year of Ryan Odom. Yeah, they had 2 different 4-game losing streaks that season. And what was a really tough Mountain West that season, with some really good Colorado State, Wyoming, even Fresno State and Boise State teams. So the Aggies haven't been on a 3-game losing streak since mid-February of 2022. So they're trying to avoid that by getting a win over Grand Canyon. The Lopes are ranked 61st in KenPom. I believe they're similarly ranked, although I think slightly lower in the net. But this is a dangerous but at times inconsistent Grand Canyon team. They, they've won. They swept San Diego State, the team that the Aggies just lost by 17 to. But they've also, they lost at home to Wyoming. They lost at home to Colorado State. They lost at Nevada in overtime. They lost at UNLV. And they got swept by New Mexico, got smoked in one of those, lost 87-64 at the Pit. So Grand Canyon lacking some consistency at times, though not lacking in just general capability, as this is a team that can be very, very dangerous. So Utah State going to have to be at its absolute best, or at least close to it, to make sure that they come away with the win. And we welcome to the show none other than the birthday boy, Eric Frandsen.
Ah, yes. Hello.
You sound so overjoyed.
It's more about being tardy to the live show, because somebody thinks their time is more important than our listeners. So
yeah,
it's all good.
I'm here at the very least.
Yes. Thank you for getting us started.
So yeah, I can always help you out there. Like I said, you're always doing something busy. You got way too many hats. Right now it's a gorilla hat.
Yes, I am actually wearing a literal gorilla hat.
Is that just a generic gorilla, or is there a particular logo?
I got this at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park.
Okay.
Yeah, we were there not last fall, the fall before. Fall break. Went there with our boys. Never been before. It was fun.
Yeah, I've never been to the San Diego Zoo either. So
I've been to the San Diego Zoo a few times, but we had never been to the Safari Park, which is separate. It's several miles away. But I actually really like the Safari Park.
Oh yeah, it's always nice.
Yeah,
those kind of attractions are always nice.
Yeah, a little more open. You know, interact with the animals in different ways. So yeah. Anyway, we're off topic.
Yeah, we're already off topic. If you guys want to bring us back on topic again, the Young Power Sports Logan text line, 435-339-0321. And Eric, as I was talking about as you're coming in, Utah State got to be at or near their best when taking on Grand Canyon. This is a dangerous team. When the Aggies faced them last time, it just felt like this was a matchup problem. like where, a team like Boise State is, almost at the same spot ranking wise. Like they're 62nd in Ken Palm, Grand Canyon 61st. The Aggies have blown out Boise State twice. They have not looked bothered at all by anything that Boise State can throw at them. But they seem really bothered by a lot of what Grand Canyon had to bring. The size they have inside. You got, F.A. Demerol, who's obviously their starting center, but Nana Usu-Inane, he's not as tall. He's 6'8", not, the 7'1" of Demerol, but he's big, 240, 245 pounds. You've also got, what was his name? Dennis.
Is it Heidi? No,
Heidi is San Diego State's.
Yeah, that's not.
Dennis Evans is.
Evans is their big 7-footer.
Yeah, Demerol's, he's 7'1". Evans is 7'2".
Yeah.
Both listed as freshmen, though I think one or both of them are older than most typical freshmen, because I think they're international players. But Evans, he actually isn't a super consistent part of the rotation, at least as far as playing lots of minutes. He's had a lot of games where he plays single-digit minutes, but he played 19 minutes against the Aggies and blocked 6 shots, as the Aggies had what remains their third worst shooting percentage on 2-pointers.
Henley was the name I was trying to think of.
Yeah, that's a different guy. Henley is a dangerous player in his own, but
as far as size-wise is what you're getting at.
Yeah, size-wise. So, you've got the guys who can block shots inside. The Aggies struggled on offense. Then they struggled on defense. Guys like Jaden Henley that are just kind of a walking matchup problem for the Aggies. They've managed to kind of slow down, centers who have bigger size. And, Demerol and Evans, I think, only combined for 8 or 10 points between them. They didn't do a ton of scoring, but it was just a lot of other, not on the box score type of impacts, and opened things up for the guys who did end up putting a lot of production. Henley being one of those, but also Brian Moore and Mekhi Williams, who each put up 20 against the Aggies. So there's a lot of aspects to this Grand Canyon team where they have struggled on offense, or at least been inconsistent on offense. Ken Palm ranks them 157th in offensive efficiency. They rank 205th in effective field goal percentage. They rank 254th in ball security and avoiding turnovers. They rank 326th in three-point percentage, and may be without one of their better three-point shooters in Caleb Shaw. He shoots 37%. He's one of 2 or 3 reliable three-point shooters on this team. But when Utah State faced Grand Canyon last time, the Lopes put up 84 points, which is their third highest scoring total in Mountain West play. And they've not put up, that many points. I think it's their third highest scoring total, third or fourth highest scoring total since November. Grand Canyon does not typically put up that many points. Some of it is pace related. They do rank fairly low in pace, but offensive efficiency, another thing. They are perfectly okay with the game ending 75-69. That's their comfort zone, but they managed to put up 84 against the Aggies.
Yeah, a team that can be a little bit all over the place. As we said, 86 against Boise in a win, 81 over in a win over Air Force. They beat San Jose, scoring 94. But they'll also have games where they could only manage 65 when they hosted Wyoming. They could only score 64 when they hosted New Mexico. So and those are games that have happened recently. They're 3-3 over the last 6 games. And in 3 of those games, they've scored north of, in going a little bit further back, but over the last 8 games, they've scored north of 80 3 times. 4 times. 80 or more 4 times. But they've also had a number of games where they're in the mid 60s. So this is an inconsistent team, a team that can sweep San Diego State, but a team that can also lose to Wyoming. So it's a hard to figure out basketball team. Looking at them, watching them play, looking how they played against Utah State, and watching from a distance some of the other games that they've had. This is a team that really feeds off of momentum and energy. If they have it, boy, good luck trying to stop these guys. If they don't, they kind of have a hard time creating it. So for Utah State, it's really important for them to suck that energy out, not allow it to gain momentum, gain steam. The defense has to be on point. The defense has been the problem the last 2 games for Utah State, allowing opponents to score too many points, allowing the opponent to get their own momentum, to go on runs, to have momentum plays, whether it's a 3-point shot in the corner with a guy kind of fading, or a dunk where you've got no resistance all the way down through the paint, a lob play. Like, those are momentum plays that you can't allow with much consistency against Grand Canyon, because they're a team that feeds off of that momentum. If they don't get it, it's hard for them to manufacture it a little bit. They're going to try. You can't let it be sustained.
Yeah, and the fouls, that's something that, when Jaden Henley's going downhill, they're gonna push to try and get him into the paint. And just come hell or high water, he's either going to get an open shot or a foul. One of those two things. Usu and Nane, they're going to want to get the same thing. Get him to the foul line or something. And even some of their guards, because Brian Moore and Mekhi Williams took 18 free throws between them in the previous game. And part of where Grand Canyon got 84 points is they shot 33 free throws. They didn't even shoot. They didn't even shoot that particularly well on free throws.
That was absurd.
They were 23 of 33. Like, they didn't even shoot spectacularly well, but that really bolstered their scoring, along with they had a slightly above average game from 3. They hit 7 of 20, so 35%, where they normally shoot about 30%. And then they were all over the place in the paint. They made 20 of 33 shots on 2-pointers. They got pretty much whatever they wanted, wherever they wanted. It was a lot like what San Diego State and Nevada just did to Utah State. That is the strength of Grand Canyon, and right now the weakness of the Aggies is defending the thing that Grand Canyon is strong at. So that's where this becomes a really scary game for the Aggies, because on paper the Aggies are supposed to win this by like double digits. Like, Ken Palm predicts this 78-68 for the Aggies. Wow. Has the metrics like a 9-point game. I think Evan Mia, something similar. So Utah State is supposed to win this game by 8 to 10 points, depending on who you ask. The spread's probably going to be somewhere in the 7 to 9 range. But this is a game where it's potentially a matchup problem for the Aggies, where there's just aspects of Grand Canyon, their offense, where they can struggle against teams that maybe have a bit more size inside. The Aggies kind of specialize in just being able to stay in front of you, though they haven't done that as much of late.
Yeah.
But that's kind of been their thing, is they can stay in front of you. They have quick guards. They can keep in front of you. But when Grand Canyon is just kind of able to bully their way into the paint, and the way the Mountain West refs call contact, it ends up being in favor of Grand Canyon's play style and works against Utah State. So Utah State's got to find a way to overcome that. And if they do, then they can start flexing, their own muscles. And you look at where Utah State shot only 25% from 3. They're ideally going to shoot a lot better than that when they're on their home court. Hopefully not going to get another 6 shots blocked from Dennis Evans.
No. Good heavens.
Yeah. And it was their 3rd worst shooting percentage from 2, and I think that will change to a degree. And so if you can just not get totally bullied by Grand Canyon in the paint and inside the arc defensively, then a lot of things can really open up for the Aggies, because you don't get bogged down on defense by committing a bunch of fouls. You can get rebounds, get out and run. If you can get out and run and pressure Grand Canyon's defense, it is really good. But the Aggies have been playing really well on offense of late. The San Diego State game was a bit of an anomaly there, but the Aggies are in like the 94th percentile in offensive rating over the last 5 games. They've been shooting the ball incredibly well from 3. They've still been able to make, shots in the paint. They've shifted a little bit more to shooting more 3-pointers of late, but it's justified because they're hitting like 10 3-pointers a game. So if they can kind of get out and run and spread the floor a little bit and mix things up, they can cause problems for Grand Canyon. But so much of this game is going to be determined by whether or not Utah State can play disciplined defense and then rebound the dang basketball on defense.
Yeah, getting those rebounds, no slap fouls. If Utah State can get back to the Zach Keller who was playing well against Fresno and against Memphis and against Boise, if Gary Clark can give them solid minutes, those things are going to really help against this lineup. That was really needed against San Diego State and their size and physicality, and it wasn't there. And so Utah State had to lean too much on Carson Templin to help them in those categories. And Carson's, he's active. He's one of the most active big men in the West Coast Conference, if you didn't know that. Thanks to FS1.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah. But, if Utah State's front line, if their big guys can play solid and not send themselves to the bench for picking up silly, quick fouls, then this is going to be a very different game for Utah State. Now, there's a lot of different things that Utah State needs to do well. But when I look at lineups and potential, those are the players that I look at most for having an oversized impact on the ultimate game's impact or outcome. If Carson Templin's active and is able to stay on the floor without silly fouls, if Gary Clark is active and able to stay on the court without silly fouls, if Zach Keller can be active and stay on the court without silly fouls, Utah State should be in a pretty good position against these guys, all other things being considered how Utah State normally plays a game.
Yeah, Utah State is capable of doing a lot of things well. It's like there's a lot of things they need to do well. They are capable of doing many things well. They are capable of beating up on good defenses. Like Memphis has a really good defense.
Yeah.
The Aggies dropped 99 on them when they had all the length
They got
and
length
size.
and physicality, and Utah State was able to manage that just fine.
Yeah. And so Utah State just needs to be able to play aggressive, play smart, play disciplined. And so that's that's both sides, because they really seem to lack aggression and lack discipline on offense against San Diego State as much as they lacked it on defense. They need to make sure they have that against another team with Grand Canyon that's going to pressure the ball. That's a great defense, again, ranked top. They're top 20 in the nation in defense, and they've been holding that. They're still a really good defense. And so the Aggies just need to be able to not be bothered by that pressure, not be bothered by how much Grand Canyon is going to press the passing, or Grand Canyon is going to press the passing lanes, and just go out there and play really good basketball. And heck, there's also opportunities to grab offensive rebounds where the Aggies did struggle a bit. Defensive rebounding, they grabbed 22 offensive rebounds. There were a lot of times where they went out and they chased down boards. Like Carson Templin didn't have a single defensive rebound against Grand Canyon last time, and he had 8 rebounds. Yeah. So,
Utah State out-rebounded Grand Canyon overall.
Yeah, they did.
Which was bizarre when you looked at how that game was being played. So it continue with that same level of intensity and intent with getting after it and it's all hands on deck here. Everybody's got to go get rebounds. You can't just rely on your big guys. And Mason had 12 rebounds in that game. So your guards, your guys on the peripheral, they have to also just have a nose for getting after the ball. Utah State, they're into the tournament, but you don't want to be stumbling in with a 3-game losing streak before you go into the conference play. You don't want the hashtag Calhoun collapse to be a real thing. So, this is a big game for Utah State. And I know a lot of us would just hate to leave the Mountain West with Grand Canyon knowing that they swept the Utah State Aggies in the regular season.
Yeah, that's not something that you want to be giving up to any of the teams when that you're leaving behind in the Mountain West. We've got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to hear from head coach Jared Calhoun. We spoke, media, myself included, spoke to him earlier this afternoon, only about 2 hours ago, talking about this matchup, and also I followed up with some things. I know some of the texters and listeners had a couple of different things they wanted me to follow up with Calhoun about, so I followed up on a couple of those things, like Mason, he's wearing a knee sleeve, and also about are the Aggies signing some guys to NIL deals. So talked about that with Calhoun. That's a little bit toward the end of the audio as we focused on this upcoming game for the first part of it. But
Ooh, that's what we call a tease right there. Better hang on.
Yeah, I'm a
Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, I know how to do this radio thing now. We'll be back after this here on the Full Court Press. Welcome on back to the Full Court Press. Jason Walker here with Eric Frandsen, the birthday boy himself.
Hey, JD Walker too.
Yeah, JD Walker
it's his
as
birthday.
Well. I didn't realize you guys had the same birthday.
We're birthday buddies.
Birthday buddies. There you go.
You know, I don't know, maybe all of you who have birthdays, like, you know, other people who also share a birthday with you. But in my sphere of people that I'm connected with, it's crazy how many people I know, either who I work with, went to school with, or are related to, who all share the same birthday. It's nuts.
What?
And I keep finding more people.
One thing that's so interesting with my family is there are a lot of people born on the 27th of a certain month. For instance, my mom was born on, I'm not going to say the month, but well, it's March 27th. We'll just say that.
Okay.
No, my brother was born on September 27th. And actually, speaking of shared birthdays, one of my cousins was born on September 27th. So
wow.
I've got a brother and a cousin born on the same day, but it's like the 27th, and I think I might even have a grandparent who was born on the 27th of, I think, January. But yeah, it's like it's always the 27th. That's the date, and so I guess I don't know.
There you go.
Now I know
it's a special day.
I need to get one for every month of the year. 5338 saying it is also my daughter's birthday.
What?
Well, tell her happy birthday for us from the Full Court Press.
Happy birthday, 5338 progeny.
So in honor of Eric's birthday, we will play this audio from Jared Calhoun. I had half a mind to ask Jared Calhoun to say happy birthday to you guys during the press conference. I wasn't sure if that would be professional, though. So I think that's why I didn't end up putting it on my paper. But I was like, that would have been nice. But, so let's
He's got other things to worry about.
He's got a big game to worry about. So let's hear from Jared Calhoun with again, as we talked to him earlier this afternoon about this upcoming game against Grand Canyon. Our stream, but it didn't work properly. So those of you watching on the stream, you won't be able to see the video, but those of you, obviously, you'll be able to hear it still.
Open your ears.
Yeah, open your ears. We're doing this the old-fashioned way. Just listen to it.
So last few games, rebounds and then fouls on defense have been kind of an issue. It's been an issue before, and been back and forth being an issue. How do you try and address something like that at this stage of the season when it kind of crops back up again?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think we played very well on either side of the ball, Jason. I think offense certainly affects your defense, but from a half-court standpoint, we got to keep teams out of the paint and then finish plays with defensive rebounds. Our foul discipline obviously has to get better. We let two teams just live at the foul line. So instead of reaching, we've got to swipe an inch out. Wall ups, we got to stay down and just limit our number of fouls throughout a game.
It doesn't get any easier playing a Grand Canyon team. It's big and does get to fouls and really rebounded well against UNLV.
Every game is hard, Sean. Every game in this league is very difficult. It's a reason it's the sixth best league in the entire country. There's a reason we've sent 5 teams to the NCAA tournament, on average the last 2 years. Great coaches, but really, really good players. These guys are really, really good. They're dynamic. They've got bigs. They've got guards. They've got some depth. They've got an identity defensively, top 20 in the country in defense. So your offense is going to affect your defense. If you take bad shots, they're going to get runouts. If you foul them, you're going to get easy baskets. So got to be better on both sides of the ball. Have a great deal of respect for Coach Drew, what he's built there. Their investment in basketball is through the roof, and they're just an elite program.
So, like you said, they're all hard. Coming in your last 5 games are against 5 of kind of the top teams, especially 4 of the top teams in the conference. You already got the 2 on the road against the toughest ones, but now you have 2 out of the next 3 at home. So what is it to be home now for a couple of months?
Yeah, I'm just looking at today's practice, Mark, trying to motivate the guys here the next hour and 10 minutes. Certainly, this is what you want, right? As a coach, as a player, a student manager, our crowd, 3 games left, tied for first. That's what we all wanted, right? We all obviously had a goal. Sometimes you lose sight of those things throughout the season. Some teams don't control their own destiny. We do. We're in a great position, right? You take it day by day, possession by possession, and you got to play each possession very well.
Talk about after the last game that in some cases this late in the season, it's not always about scheme, it's just about the team that's hungrier. Like, how do you try and get the team, make sure they have the right energy, but also put the energy in the right places so they can finish off the season strong?
We just talked simply about ownership. This is a players program. They've got to take ownership. Coaches got to take ownership. And we do things together around here. That's how we operate. We don't sit around and point the fingers. We got to, be problem solvers, right? We have to solve some of our problems. Change is hard. Buy-in is hard. And you got to keep plugging away day by day. Feel good. Feel like we had 2 good practices. Got to have 1 more today and be ready for a great team.
You feel like they've responded well then after that?
Yeah, I mean, you never can tell as a coach till the game, but they know what we're playing for. They know big picture. They know where we're at with, all the measurables. But the reality is you're competing for a league championship with 3 games to go, 2 at home, and 1 very difficult road game. So you take it day by day, live in the moment. Expectations are great to have, and we're right there. We're knocking on the door. So we expect a very difficult game tomorrow, but game we got to be ready to play.
You kind of mentioned it being, this time of year it's about being a player-led program. Coming off of a loss like that, what does that look like in your eyes, whether that's on the bus, on the plane, in practice? What are the things you're looking at to show that players are kind of leading out?
Yeah, I think you got to have, some good conversation, right? You got to have some team conversations, got to be player-led. We open it up. We make our guys open up, things that we can do better as coaches, things they can do better. What are they seeing on the court? I think that's really, really important. We got to continue to train their eyes. They got to see progressions on offense and defense, right? We're not reading the game the right way. We're not in good position defensively, so then we're late to shooters. We're fouling. We're not in good position, so we're giving up offensive rebounds, right? Defense is all about positioning, communication, being tougher than your opponent. Offense is all about training their eyes to see the coverages. We missed a lot of actions that we tried to exploit against the Aztecs. We didn't play off 2 feet. We didn't get one mores. Those are all things that go into offense. So it's a combination of both.
Saw Mason still wearing the leg sleeve. Was that just kind of a lingering treatment from the play against Nevada?
Yeah, I mean, he went down on it pretty hard, Jason, pretty bruised. Mace is a tough kid. He doesn't want to sit out of practice. He doesn't want to load management. He doesn't believe in those things. So he's going to go 100 miles an hour to the finish line. But we do got to watch some of his reps in practice. We got to be a little smarter.
Jaden Henley, just looking at some of their personnel, he's a guy that really has been playing well.
I got him as a first-team All-League player. When my ballot is cast, he's on my ballot. I would encourage you guys to do the same. He's an elite player. I think he'll be a two-way player in the NBA. His three-point shooting is consistent. His decision-making below the free throw line. He's a fabulous talent. One of the best athletes in the league, one of the best scorers, can go right, can go left, mid-range, tough kid, really good player.
The last game between you and Gray and Kane, at 84 points. That's their third highest scoring total in conference play. What were the biggest things you saw they had success against you?
Yeah, I mean, they have spurt ability, I would say. Their defense can lead to really good offense. When they're really clicking on the defensive end, you're not running good offense, they're going to get runouts. They're going to get transition threes. They're going to get layups. So I know we talk a lot about our defense, but once again, I think your offense affects your defense.
But obviously they have those big guys inside, the 2, 3, 7-footers. Really kind of gave you a hard time last time around, blocked some shots. What do you think has changed in your team, or what do you go prepared for?
Well, we still got the same players. Nothing has changed from a personnel standpoint. But, Mark, you just got to make better decisions. You got to learn from when you're playing against guys that are 7 foot. What do 7-footers like to do? Their impact on the game is protecting the rim rolling, blocking shots. So we got to get to 2 feet. We got to use our shot fakes. We got to get to our floaters. And sometimes you do have to take those guys on to keep them honest, right? But they have elite rim protection. As you said, I think they blocked 5 of our shots the first game.
You mentioned a while back trying to get players signed for next year. I know you're focused on it right now. Have you made any progress in trying to put in retention of this roster for next year?
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good question, because at the end of the day, you have to be thinking about the future every day, right? There's not a day that goes by we don't get a text message this time of year about a player, a possible guy that could go in the portal, right? To me, the new rules with the tampering, Jason, I think are really good, right? The NCAA is cracking down on that. The portal opens on this date. That's when the kids get to go in. Retention-wise, I think those conversations are still ongoing. Ongoing with what our total amount is going to be here at Utah State. What is really the buy-in that the school's going to do now as we go to the Pac-12? I've reached out to a lot of coaches today, just trying to gauge where they're going to be. What is their athletic director saying to them, and what's the commitment from the university moving forward in men's basketball? Because the last 2 years it's been zero, right? I feel very confident in Cam and Ike and Carter. Been very, very impressed with those 3 guys. I think they've got some things brewing, right? Obviously, to try to think about revenue sharing, right? Whether it's naming rights, whether it's whatever it is, we've got to get those totals before we can kind of solidify and finalize our roster.
So based on what you've seen so far, in terms of like total NIL or any revenue sharing, you feel like the number you'll have to work with is going to be up relative to this year?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a drastic increase because the school gave us $0. So if they give us $5, that's 5 more than they gave last year, right? So literally 2 years in a row, we've been at 0. So we've been funded by donors that have, when you go to a donor and you ask them to invest in your program and your kids, it's pretty incredible the amount of donations that came in this year, right? I mean, it's something that as a coach, you fully understand, because my wife and I did it as well. It's a commitment, right? You're giving up money, your hard-earned money, to pay players. I mean, that's just the bottom line. So whatever the university decides to give us is going to be a drastic increase, 100% increase. But I have full confidence in Cam. Have we signed, and has anybody signed on the dotted line? To answer your question with a long-winded question, no. Is that going to happen? Yes.
then obviously you mentioned a lot of programs have had a problem with tampering. Supposedly this one as well last year, but have you seen any of that going on this year?
No, not that I'm aware of. We have good relationships with our players. I think they're all committed on the task. And that comes into play as well, right, Mark? Like, you've got to block out the noise. I call this silly season, right? This is the time that everybody's reporting on, players, coaches, whatever the case may be. You got to stay. You have one task, right? It's today's practice, tomorrow's game, and you got to worry about, right now. I think too many people worry about outside distractions. We're not going to do that. We went through that last year.
That was Utah State men's basketball head coach Jared Calhoun talking about a lot of different things. And yeah, toward the end there, I mean, I asked him if he'd signed any players. I can't remember if I was asking the text line or on X about, Jared Calhoun had said that they were working on, signing players to NIL deals to, try and get them signed for next year. Not that it would lock them in guaranteed to be here, but like they would then, they'd get a buyout. So you get one or the other. And I mean, I actually didn't expect him to answer straight up, but he did give kind of add a little bit extra, but then he was like, no, we haven't signed anybody yet, but they are anticipating that. So,
well, at least they're having these conversations. And, I think last year, as he said, there were distractions at the end of the year. And so he's trying to remove that. He's trying to secure the team, or at least the institution, for the future, but also remove some of the distractions and silliness that start to become very pervasive this time of year as other teams kind of see potential on the horizon to help their own rosters out.
9-5, where I had a bit of an issue playing the audio initially, saying, at least you didn't put your phone up to the mic to play the audio like the big birthday boy. 1 year older and wiser too. Happy birthday to you.
Yeah, I don't know about that wiser part.
But. We got to take a break. We've still got some texts we want to get to. 8968 and 2444 both have texts I want to make sure we get to, talking about Utah State and their game against Grand Canyon. We'll give our main keys to this game, the things the Aggies need to do if they're going to come away with the win and split the series with Grand Canyon. That's all coming up next here on the Full Court Press. The Best of Northern Utah contest is back, presented by Alpine Cleaning and Restoration. Nominate your favorite businesses, the places you love, the people you trust. Who's the hidden gem more people should know about? The business you'd recommend without even thinking about it. The local legend that's been serving this community for decades. This contest is how we recognize the best businesses in town. Nominate them now at bestofnorthernutah.com. So a few texts rolling in as we were having our first initial preview of the Utah State Grand Canyon game that'll be coming up tomorrow at 8 p.m. in the D. Glenn Smith Spectrum. The Aggies returning home from a 2-game road trip. 8968, as we were talking about fouls, and the Aggies sending Grand Canyon to the free throw line 33 times in that game. 8968 saying, it seems like every time the Aggies started to work their way into the game, a foul would take them right back out of the game. And that's something that's
true.
happened it happened against Grand Canyon, happened against UNLV, happened against Nevada. Of course, they were all pretty much always in the game, but it was actually more that kept Nevada in the game. But then against San Diego State, there'd be a dumb foul on a rebound, foul, in the perimeter, like just all
they'd
these
be
things.
trying to make a run to come back into it, and then they would undo it by silly fouls.
Yeah, and you'd have the opponents go like 3 or 4 minutes without making a field goal, but they'd have scored like 4 or 5 points because they're going to the free throw line.
Yeah.
And so that's something Utah State cannot be doing to keep Grand Canyon in this game. You don't want to be giving them free chances at the free throw line. They're not a fantastic free throw shooting team, but you give, teams enough, freebies at the line, they're going to make enough of them that it's going to be painful. So if the Aggies can keep that free throw number for Grand Canyon like under 23, then I imagine they're going to have a pretty darn good shot to win this game.
Yeah, they're going to give themselves definitely a better shot than last time.
So
2444 texting in saying, this would be a great game for Templin and Keller to hit some threes and draw GCU's bigs out of the paint. If they can't do that consistently, it's going to be difficult for the other players to finish inside. It would also be great to force some live ball turnovers and get out in transition rather than letting them get the defense set.
Yeah, and Grand Canyon is a bit susceptible to turnovers. I mentioned they ranked 254th in their own turnovers on offense. So that 17.8% of their possessions have a turnover, and the Aggies actually did okay in forcing some turnovers. I don't remember how many were live ball. Yeah, there were 11 turnovers, so it was 16.7% of possession. So it was roughly average. I think the Aggies could do with forcing 14 or 15 to really help fuel their offense, because that's somewhere you can get some kind of free points yourself. And against a really good Grand Canyon defense, getting those live ball turnovers, getting free offense, and those can spark runs. The best runs the Aggies have gone on this year, pretty much almost exclusively, come from, forcing a bunch of turnovers.
Yeah, I totally agree. So when you look at this game and some of the keys, if you will, we've kind of touched on a few things in reactions to some of the texts, but in some of our discussion as well. But when I look at this game in Grand Canyon, who they are as a team and kind of how things are trending right now, Grand Canyon lost at home against Wyoming, and then they beat UNLV, blew up and took care of UNLV, beat them by 13. But they lost at home by 5 against Wyoming. But you look at Utah State, well, they're on a 2-game losing streak right now. So it's both teams should be hungry for a win. I know Utah State fans are going to feel very motivated to try to support their team on Saturday night. And I think the Utah State team as a whole is going to be motivated they don't want to have 3 losses in a row. It's very uncharacteristic. And we've seen after a couple of losses, Utah State responds pretty well. They'd struggled a bit against Colorado State in that first half, but they'd had one of their guys back from injury and had the half of his life. And Utah State was able to get back, work from behind, and eventually work from ahead and win that game on the road. It was a good win for them. So this team shows that they can make adjustments after losses and that they respond pretty well. There was one other time this season where they lost back-to-back, but they responded with a string of 8 games in a row where they won. So I have confidence in Jared Calhoun and his coaching staff and this team to learn from their struggles against Grand Canyon last time. But to do that, and as I've mentioned before, Zach Keller, Gary Clark, Carson Templin, they need to stay on the floor. And the coaches need to trust their guys. If somebody picks up a foul early, don't let that be the death of him for the rest of the game. Utah State can't afford that. You need to give these guys chances to work through that and to continue to help the team. Now, if they continually make bad plays, turn the ball over, make silly fouls, then the coach doesn't have a choice. He has to pull the guy out. But I'd love to see them get a little bit longer leash for some of these guys to let them work through some of that.
Yeah, let Gary and Zach play through having 2 fouls in the first half if it comes to that. Like,
yeah, they get yanked and they lose their confidence and they don't get back in the game.
Yeah, it's like if Zach Keller is going to play like 17 minutes max, like you can use up 5 fouls in that time. Like, you use them or lose them. So I think is like you said, if they're playing bad, pull them. If they just happen to pick up fouls but they're playing good otherwise, why not keep them in? Now, obviously, if you got Mason and MJ, he might play 35 or so minutes in this game. Yeah, you protect them with foul trouble and whatnot. You need them in the clutch, but you're not going to close the game with either Gary or Zach, most likely. So play them as much as you need to, fouls or no fouls. Just base it off of how well those lineups are working. Yeah, if Zach Keller, if he's hitting threes, but I think just as importantly, how he's playing on defense.
Yeah, if he can move bodies down low, it may not show up on a stat sheet, but if he's moving bodies, or if he's clogging space, just walling he's doing his job.
Like he moves his feet well for a 6'10", 240-pound big. He's able to switch decently well, play good drop coverage in pick and roll, and when he's been left one-on-one against some pretty good post players, he's not moved very easily. And he's generally able to force guys, into slightly harder shots, and sometimes they make it anyway because these guys are all talented. But he's generally forced them into tougher shots, forced them into mid-range post-ups, and that's his job out there. Like, go out there and do those things, and maybe he'll pick up some rebounds. But sometimes his job is not necessarily getting the rebound, but boxing out the big, and then Mason or Colby or someone else comes in and cleans up the rebound.
Yes.
Because rebounding can be a team effort. It's not necessarily that the one guy has to get the rebound. Your high-end rebounders, your best rebounders in the country are going to do that. They're going to box out and grab the rebound. But Utah State needs to rebound as a team. And that's where Mason Falstaff gets 12 rebounds. That was other guys boxing out. He comes in, goes and gets a board, team rebounding and whatnot.
Yeah, you have to treat that ball as if your life depends on it. Like it's your oxygen. If you don't get it, you're going to suffocate and die. I mean, they have to have relentless pursuit of a basketball that's free off of a shot or once it hits the deck. But they also need to do it within the proper confines of playing defense. Hustle, but don't be stupid about it. Don't just slap your hands around and get silly fouls. Like, be aggressive, but it's important that you're available and on the court too.
Yeah, don't be physical just for physicality's sake. Be physical with a purpose, and as you said, within the confines of the rules, or at least within the confines of whatever the referees think the rules are.
Yeah, we'll see which crew we get.
Yeah, we'll see then. We've got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk Utah State softball and gymnastics. Softball played 2 games today. And gymnastics, they're having a meet tonight. So we'll talk about that next here on the Full Court Press. Welcome back to the Full Court Press. And a reminder that batteries, headlights, wiper blades are all in stock and on sale at your locally owned Napa Auto Parts. They got Chemical Guys car wash and detailing kits for only $49.99. Pick up the last bags of Blue Heat Ice Melt at $10. Air fresheners, snow scrapers, shop towels, sea foam, and more. It's on sale at your locally owned Napa Auto Parts locations. They got stores from Preston all the way down to Providence. So Utah State gymnastics and softball, they're in action. Well, one team has already been in action twice today. Softball splitting a pair of games down in St. George for the Beehive Classic down there. The first game of the Beehive Classic took place last Sunday, but the Aggies defeated Southern Utah 2-1. Although then they fell at Utah Valley, not nearly as productive a game. They lost 10-1 against Utah Valley. So they'll continue in the Beehive Classic tomorrow. They'll play a doubleheader against Utah and then Utah Valley again before wrapping things up on Sunday. At the beginning of the month, March begins. The softball team will begin with the game again, still in St. George, against Utah Tech. That'll be 12:30 on Sunday. Now,
Yeah, good for them.
Yeah, good start there. I mean, they've played a lot of really tough teams. They're 10-7.
Yeah, it feels weird in February to be talking about like softball season underway, but a lot of these games are away. Maybe with our continued warm trends, they can do some more games here.
They can actually play at home this year.
Yeah.
It can be tricky for them sometimes. So, yeah, they don't start Mountain West play until March 20. Wait, hold on. Their conference schedule isn't even on. Oh, no, I'm looking at the gymnastics. That's why it's a problem. Yeah, I was looking at the wrong one. I was already starting to shift over to talk about gymnastics. Softball will start Mountain West play on the 13th of March with a series at Fresno State. But, yeah, looking at gymnastics, speaking of them, they are taking on Air Force tonight. They've faced them a couple of times in I think a quad meet and then a tri meet. They're 1-1 against them. They defeated them in the Boise State quad meet, and then they lost to them in the Air Force tri meet. But it'll be, I believe it's just a dual meet with Utah State and Air Force tonight, 6:30 p.m. in the D. Glenn Smith Spectrum. Aggies coming off a season high 196.325, their first 196 of the season, and their 9th highest score all time. So that's a lot of times that's a once a season type score, if that. The Aggies put up to defeat Boise State, who only put up a 194.95 in their meet. So the Aggies are pretty consistently getting in that mid to high 195 range and even peaking into the 196s. Yeah, which is a good sign for them, as they're looking to make some waves here in the Mountain West, their final season in the Mountain West before heading to the Pac-12. And they face a lot of really good teams. They have a ranked win this season, and they're 12-4, which it's one of their best records. Typically, like they'll have like a 500 record or like below, because like you have a tri meet and it'll count as like going 0-3 because you'll face like Utah and a couple other ranked teams.
Right. Yeah.
But they're 12-4.
Yeah, very solid gymnastics program. Coach Kristen White's doing a great job. Some great, amazing athletes. You watch them compete, and it's like, my gosh, how do you get the body to do that and not like hurt for weeks on end? So if you're looking for something to do tonight, if you're not celebrating a birthday, go up to the Spectrum and cheer on Utah State as they take on Air Force.
All right, that'll do it for us this hour. Next hour, we're going to talk Mountain West basketball as a whole, standings, bracketology, a little bit of Utah Jazz. Welcome on back in to the Full Court Press. Jason Walker here with Eric Frandsen on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. Streaming online at 1069thefan.com and on the 1069 The Fan mobile app and on YouTube at The Fan KLGN is the YouTube account. The Fan KLGN. As we're live, you can watch this video. You can see Eric in his wonderful hat, though the top of it's cut off there.
It's readjusting, so
it's too zoomed in. It's having an issue. It can't find you.
Not used to me.
It's struggling. It's like, who is this?
Yes.
Who is this Joker? There we go. Now I finally found you.
Okay.
What are these fancy cameras that can track us like when we're walking around? I'll go to close the door and it'll follow me all the way there.
I've been trained to follow you. Where are you going?
What are you doing?
Yes.
So glad, however you're listening to the show, we're glad to have you on. And if you want to join the show via the Young Power Sports of Logan text line, you can do so at 435-339-0321. We didn't get to this text before the end of the first hour, 8968. We were talking about NIL and revenue sharing.
Well, we're also talking about fouls.
And fouls.
Yes.
Never mind. Yeah, okay, that's what this text was. For some reason, my brain went to a different subject. But yeah, it was 8968 saying maybe Bronco and Jared should get together and figure out how the football team could stop having silly penalties and how the basketball team can stop making silly fouls.
It's a joint problem.
Yeah, it's something that both of them have had an issue with.
Discipline on campus.
Yeah, with Bronco, it was a struggle at New Mexico, and it was a struggle this last year at Utah State. And then, Jared, of course, last year, the Aggies were having problems with fouling. It was something they did last year, and it's something they've done again this year.
Well, and sometimes, a team that's fouling a lot, sometimes it's because they're tired, and so they're reaching more. They're not as disciplined with their feet and getting their body in position.
It's also usually just bad defense.
Yes, but sometimes you'll see some teams kind of pick up the trend of how often they're fouling because they're gassed. And that's maybe more of the course of a game. I don't know if over a course of a season how much you look at that, but it's something that they got to work on. They've got to be more disciplined, especially against some really good teams that they still have on the schedule to finish out the regular season, the 3 games that are left.
Yeah, and teams that present matchup problems like UNLV, like Grand Canyon, who may not be as good as the Aggies on paper, but have, they've got the guys to cause problems for the Aggies. 9315 texting and saying, did the camera not be able to follow Eric because it's confused and he's 1 year older and doesn't look the same?
I do look different today.
Yeah, that's true.
Different than normal. Very much more of a casual look today than
Eric,
than
you were
typical.
talking the other day about having make sure you dress, professionally, and you've always got the button-up shirt, and I'm over here I show up in basketball shorts sometimes. Eric's in here in a sweater and a hat.
Yeah,
with the gorilla on it.
Yeah, definitely a different look today.
Yeah, so that's what we've got going on here. So
spent the morning on the mountain, so
yeah. So maybe you don't watch this one just because we look unprofessional. My hair doesn't even look nearly as kempt as it usually does. But we wanted to shift from, we talked about Utah State basketball and previewing that game against Grand Canyon. That was the heavy focus of the first hour. We'll have the podcast posted a little bit later. Of course, if you're watching the video live stream, you can just rewind it if you really want to. Mm-hmm. That's another fun thing about the YouTube live stream is you don't have to wait for us to publish anything. But we wanted to shift toward the Mountain West as a whole, kind of what's going on, just kind of our daily revisit of the standings, and also just look ahead at the games that are happening this weekend. All the games are on Saturday. It is a one-stop shop for all Mountain West men's basketball games, and it starts, I believe, fairly early, noon.
Yeah,
and
on CBS.
Yeah, this is a marquee game, and the TV providing the where it's on TV plays a big role in that. Where CBS picking up this game, putting it at noon, and it's San Diego State at New Mexico at the Pit, powered by. I forget. Nusenda. That sounds like a smoothie company. Like Nusenda. It's like
Send it with Nusenda.
It's like a tropical drink or something, or a tropical smoothie. Nusenda. I'm sure it's some significant word, especially where there's a lot of Native American heritage and whatnot. It's probably something really meaningful, and I just insulted an entire ethnicity.
I have no idea.
But to my white American ears, it sounds like a smoothie. So that says more about what people name their companies, though, than it does for people who just name things in their own native language.
Yes.
But moving on from my inability to comprehend languages, the San Diego State-New Mexico game is a really big matchup and will have massive implications on the race for the Mountain West Championship. If San Diego State wins this one, then they are really in the driver's seat for the number 1 overall seed. Not necessarily guaranteed to win an outright championship, because if the Aggies win out from here, they can do absolutely no worse than getting a share of the Mountain West title. As you know, San Diego State and Utah State are both tied. Ken Palm projects both of them to go 15-5 by the end of the regular season, which means Ken Palm expects both teams actually to pick up one more loss. But if San Diego State loses, then that drops them behind Utah State, provided Utah State can get a win against Grand Canyon, which the Aggies have had 2 chances now to take leads over, or at least larger leads over San Diego State, and blew them both. So no guarantees in the slightest there. But the other thing is that it would very likely kind of shift the balance of the tiebreaker, because as things stand right now, New Mexico, say Utah State and San Diego State both won out, that would mean that the tiebreaker basically, there's a few different tiebreakers.
Okay, so I have the tiebreaker scenarios open right now. So, because there's very real world here where there could be a 2-way tie, maybe even a 3-way tie.
Yeah.
So let's just first go through the 2-way tie scenarios from the Mountain West.
Yeah.
And you've kind of started to allude to this. First thing is head-to-head.
Yep.
That's what we try to figure out. So there's no tiebreaker there because they split, right? So then you go to the next situation. If the 2 teams split their games during the regular season, each tied team's record shall be compared against the team occupying the highest position in the standings, continuing down through the standings until one team gains the advantage, thereby gaining the higher seed.
Yeah, and that's the key tiebreaker, because as things stand right now, you've got to go through a couple of different spots in the standings to get to one where there's a difference of record, because both teams, San Diego State and Utah State, are 1-0 against New Mexico right now. And then Grand Canyon and Nevada are tied, but I think we were walking through this the other day. I think Nevada has the tiebreaker over, because Nevada beat Grand Canyon in the one game they
only played the one time.
And I think they will only play one time.
Nevada beat them in overtime.
Yeah. So Nevada also, although Nevada and Grand Canyon are both 11-6, Nevada comes in as the 4th place team by all the tiebreakers.
Yes.
So it goes to Nevada. The Aggies are 1-1 against. San Diego State is 2-0. Here's the thing. If New Mexico wins, and then Utah State's, if they go and beat New Mexico, but say Utah State lost to UNLV and or Grand Canyon, and then you end up with San Diego State and Utah State tied again, but the Aggies beat New Mexico, and say New Mexico beat San Diego State, then that tiebreaker shifts to there's the deviation when you get to 3rd place. So New Mexico, not only would that drop San Diego State a game and give the Aggies a chance to get a 1-game lead again, provided they can take care of their own business, it could really help the Aggies where they kind of even more control their own destiny, where a lot of Utah State's outright or number 1 seed in the Mountain West tournament chances would come down to beating New Mexico. And they could even afford to lose against either UNLV or Grand Canyon. Just make sure you beat one of those and New Mexico. So that's where this game can be pretty big, one way or the other, especially if New Mexico ends up winning. And of course, they're on a bit of a skid themselves. They've not played as well of late, but typically have played, as most teams do, better in their home arena.
Yeah. By the way, just there's one other scenario for tiebreakers. So head-to-head, record versus teams below you, and if you still remain tied, then the 2 teams will look at the net rankings. The Mountain West will look at net rankings. It's determined by the most up-to-date official NCAA NET. So Utah State clearly has an advantage there.
Yeah.
But
But you
what
have
New
to,
Mexico could do tomorrow could be a huge boon for Utah State to secure that number 1 spot.
But to get all the way to the net rankings, Utah State and San Diego State would have to have the exact same record against every single team in the Mountain West.
It's unlikely that they would get there.
And I don't even think that's mathematically. I'm not sure that is mathematically, or maybe it is, because I mean, there's teams that you play only once or twice, but I don't know. And I'm not going to go through San Diego State's record against every single team, but yeah. And I guess since you have net rankings where there can't be a tie, I guess, is there not a tiebreaker in there where it's just a coin flip?
No, coin toss nowhere in there in the tiebreaker scenario.
Since it's impossible to be tied in the net.
Net is a definitive number. One team will be higher than the other.
Yeah, because I always like it when you just get to the end of the tiebreakers and they just say, screw it, we're on our 9th tiebreaker scenario. Just flip a dadgum coin.
Flip a coin.
It's like if you've managed to be tied,
draw a card, say higher or lower.
It's just like leave it up to the gods, like the sports gods. We ain't dealing with this crap.
And there's also a lengthy explanation if there are 3 or more teams tied.
Yeah.
And there is still a world where that could happen with New Mexico, San Diego State, and Utah State.
Yeah.
But Saturday's game could go a long way to making it really only a 2-team race.
Yeah, but so if San Diego State wins, then it pretty much keeps it as a 2-team race.
Yes.
If New Mexico wins, it very much becomes a 3-team race.
Right.
Utah State would be maybe 1 game ahead.
And Utah State can't afford to lose.
Yeah, but then there's 2 teams hot on their heels. So we've got a pretty solid 3-horse race going with the Mountain West standings. So that's one game that's happening.
Yeah, very big
on Saturday.
12 o'clock on CBS.
It is probably the biggest, and then there's probably 2 other ones that are pretty solid. But 2 p.m. you got Air Force at Wyoming. The Falcons, we'll see how well they can do it, trying to avoid going 0-20. Be the first team in Mountain West history to go 0-20. They are 22.5-point underdogs at Wyoming. Like, Wyoming's not a 22-point favorite against many teams.
No.
And a lot of them have a D2 next to their team name.
And this is an important game for Wyoming. They're tied in the standings with Fresno State. So you're always trying to get the more favorable seeds when it comes to
maybe trying to
who
face
you match up with.
Yeah, trying to get into a 7-10 game as opposed to being in the 8-9, which not only do you play an easier team, because 10 is, that's playing. It probably ended up being like San Jose, but like then you're playing the 2 seed as opposed to the 1 seed. So that's kind of obviously you're looking for that potential there. Air Force in Wyoming at 2 p.m. Then you got Colorado State and San Jose. This one's at San Jose, and Colorado State's been finicky at times this season, but they're on a bit of a roll where I believe a 5-game winning streak is, I think, what they're on right now. 6 games, excuse me.
Wow.
Struggled a little bit against Fresno, but we're able to pull that one off at home, 74-70. But their offense has kind of been rolling again, where that's the thing that was carrying them in non-conference, where they were like 9-2 or something like that in non-conference play. They were like one of, if not the best teams on offense in the dadgum country. And then things kind of fell off a cliff a bit for them because their defense had never been particularly good, but then their offense kind of stopped shining. Injuries obviously played a big factor in some of those things that hurt, but while a lot of Colorado State's winning streak has come against, I'll list off the teams they beat: San Jose, Air Force, Wyoming, UNLV, Fresno State, this most recent. But within all of that was a win over San Diego State. And that's the one where, okay, if you remove that from the equation, it's kind of a yawn, it's not that big of a deal. And, you don't put too much stock where Colorado State spent most of the conference stretch losing to every good team in the conference and some of the mediocre ones.
Yeah.
But now where they're stacking wins and even getting wins over good teams, that's where you begin to think, does this Colorado State team become a threat in the postseason? They'd certainly like to believe so, and who knows, it can happen.
They've got some very good players, and anything can happen in the tournament. We've seen that multiple times where a team starts to get hot at the right time and they roll through the conference tournament. New Mexico did that just a few years ago with Jalen House, excuse me, who carried his team
Yeah.
through the tournament and got into the NCAA tournament. And otherwise, they had no business going. But because they started to play well at the end of the regular season, carried that through the tournament, they got there. Colorado State could be another team like that. They did that last year themselves.
Yeah.
So they could be repeating history with how they're coming into the conference tournament.
Yeah, Colorado State favored by 8.5 over the Spartans. Boise State traveling to Fresno State. They're 6-point favorites over the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs just continue to be a team that'll scare you in the first half and then fade in the second half. And so I almost expect Fresno State to get like an 8 or 9 point lead at some point in the first half against Boise, only for them to just either give a big run. Like Boise State went on a 9-0 run to close the half against Wyoming in the Broncos' last game, where they started off a bit slow, but then took control of the game by the end. I feel like we could end up seeing a similar thing. It is on the road, so maybe it'll be a little harder to generate some momentum, but still feel pretty confident about the Broncos being able to get the win, just because Fresno State just can't seem to close the game because they don't have the depth and the legs to be able to finish the way they start a game.
Yeah, Fresno is sneaky where they will kind of smack you in the mouth. Like, oh, gosh, Fresno might be for real.
Yeah.
But they can't sustain it. And so if Boise State can withstand the early onslaught, they should be okay. And this is a team there's a lot of uncertainty with their team, a lot of rumors and smoke around it, whether this team has given up on their coach or not. So they similarly, they want to finish strong if they can.
See, I hadn't noticed. I don't know how I missed those rumors, but then suddenly I saw a tweet where people were asking the players about giving up on their coach. It's is it that bad?
Yeah, when you don't at the players.
Yeah.
Don't,
it was a
tweet
report.
those questions
it
at
was
the players.
It was a reporter asking the player in an interview.
Oh,
It was a press conference.
Okay,
situation.
well then that's okay. I get that then.
Yeah, the players typically aren't saying anything on Twitter. There's not too many players that are maybe I don't follow enough of them, but typically they don't say stuff beyond just retweeting, their team stuff or saying glory to God and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's game time.
Yeah, it's boring stuff like that.
Wheels up.
Yeah, or plugging their whatever NIL sponsorship they're with.
Right.
Here, I got a T-shirt. I'm at a car dealership. All that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah.
So there's that one. 5:30 p.m. again, Mountain Time at Save Mart Center in Fresno. And then 8 p.m., starting the same time as Utah State Grand Canyon, we've got a good old-fashioned Nevada rivalry. Nevada at the Thomas & Mack Center taking on UNLV. Nevada, a narrow 1.5 point favorite over a feisty but unpredictable, and I don't know really what to make of it UNLV team.
Yeah, interesting comments from Coach Pastner, UNLV's head coach.
Oh, yeah, that was crazy.
After their most recent loss, saying, this is the worst defending team I've ever coached. And it wasn't that demonstrative, but he was upset with his team and their lack of attention to detail when it comes to defense. He's got a dude who probably should be in the discussion as the player of the year. He dropped 30 the other night.
Yeah, he
can do that at any game.
Yeah, he's got a player on his team who's a walking bucket.
Yes, but they just can't stop anybody else.
Yeah.
And so that's a wildly inconsistent team. A game Utah State fans obviously should be kind of scoreboard watching while you're watching the Aggies, because that's their next opponent. And you kind of want to see, how are they trending? Nevada, how are they trending after picking up some big wins? They're just kind of like we talked about Colorado State playing their way into the tournament. Nevada's kind of doing that right now as well.
Yeah, and how do they do when they now go on the road? Because they picked up 2 big wins, but they were both at home.
Yes.
Where Nevada, I kind of talked bad about them because they were losing all these marquee games. Well, all those marquee games they'd played to that point were on the road. Well, then they won those marquee games at home. I wouldn't say a game against UNLV is a marquee game, so to speak, but how do you do on the road against a UNLV team that, if they're playing good, or if players aside from Draw Gibbs Lawhorn are playing good, yeah, they can be dangerous. But yeah, I understand Coach Pastner's frustrations, because UNLV, we talked about the Aggies struggling with fouls. UNLV ranks 355th in opponents' free throw rate.
Ooh.
There's only about 10 teams that are worse than them at it. And of course, that's something maybe the Aggies will try and take advantage of when they end up meeting them in about a little under a week's time, or about like 4 or 5 days. However far away March 3rd is. However,
it's midweek.
Yeah, it's something. It's a future game. We're focused on Saturday. So, yeah, those are the other Mountain West games. Nevada UNLV will be on CBS Sports Network. There are 3 nationally televised games for the Mountain West. We mentioned CBS there, the big one. FS1 is carrying the Utah State Grand Canyon game. And then CBS Sports Network will be carrying Nevada UNLV. Of course, we can probably imagine the Grand Canyon Utah State game will start at about 8:15.
Yeah, FS1.
They do not know how to space games.
No, they don't. They always schedule them 2 hours apart, and it never happens.
Yeah, and especially now.
Start on time.
Like tip time's going to come around. It'll be 8 o'clock, and then some random Big East game, they'll have like 7 minutes left in their game.
Oh, I know.
7 minutes of game time, which, everyone knows is really a half hour of real time if you're lucky.
But my appeal for those at FS1 who are watching this broadcast or listening to this broadcast is the Utah State Aggies. They play in the Mountain West Conference. And if anybody on your staff used to play at Grand Canyon, keep it to yourself. It's a little weird.
Yeah, that was probably the worst broadcast crew we've had in a while.
Well, it's like those guys are normally pretty good, but they were bad. And then talk to your guys in the truck. Make sure they understand how the net rankings work, and that smaller numbers next to a team, that's usually better than 3 numbers next to a team.
Like they had Tulane
was the key win.
The key wins, like Tulane was like New
150
Mexico.
Spaces between them and VCU.
Yeah, like almost like Tulane. You'd be quicker counting the teams that rank below Tulane as far as the strength of schedule as far as opponents. Like you go through a handful of teams, like heck, Montana State might be above them, but like, yeah, they're literally one of the worst teams by net ranking in KenPom that the Aggies have faced all year.
Tulane is 193. That was a quad 3 win. You can't claim that as a key win.
That's one of Miami of Ohio's best win. Like that's
the Aggies won by 21 points.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, they literally have 3 quad 1 wins. You can't list the quad 1 wins.
Let's ignore VCU, who's 47. And then the key loss at Grand Canyon. What about the UNLV game? That was a worse loss.
Yeah, that was the worst loss. So it's like
that's a quad 3 loss.
Of course, to be honest, Utah State's generally had few enough losses. You can just list all of them. To be honest,
I hope the folks.
They
might be coming into town tonight. I don't know. Maybe they just come in town tomorrow. But
do they even come into town out of the FS1 people?
Sometimes they do. But please. Just do a little extra homework. That's all that fans ask.
Not even extra homework. Just do homework at all.
Yeah, just call it right. That's all we ask.
Learn the players' names.
Shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah, just a lot of insane stuff. Anyway, we got to take a break. We're a little overdue.
You're going to call them the Oklahoma State Sooners, are you? Come on now.
I think I'm going to do that next time. Just. Anyway, we'll be back after this. We'll shift over to talk about the Utah Jazz. They had a game against the Pelicans yesterday. They'll be playing the Pelicans again this weekend. Maybe have a bit of a debate, a what-if scenario. If the Jazz get a top 3 pick, wishful thinking, but, what if? What kind of players would you want them to take? And then a little bit later, we'll be talking about, of all things, gentlemen's clubs. You'll have to wait to find out why on earth we're bringing that up. Does somehow relate to the NBA and will tie it to the Utah Jazz in some way. But that's coming up down the line here on the Full Court Press. Indoor air in our area can be up to 5 times dirtier than outdoor air, especially during dry winter months. Dry air keeps dust and allergens floating longer, sending them deeper into your lungs and making sickness more likely. Mountain Valley Heating and Air installs high-efficiency steam humidifiers that use 1 gallon of water with no waste to improve air quality. So call 435-753-5170 for a free in-home air quality assessment from Mountain Valley Heating and Air. And Eric doing some very important research on a different business, not nearly as creatively named as Mountain Valley Heating and Air, but the whole Nusenda Credit Union.
Yeah, they bought the naming rights to the pit, so we were trying to figure out, like, what is that? Does that have a special meaning? Looks like it's a made-up word.
It's just a made-up word
to replace a big mouthful of a name before.
Yeah,
and so I
two
give them
different ones.
Yes,
too.
so I give them credit for tightening things up and making it easier to say. But we thought, well, it must have some meaning. Maybe it still does. We just haven't been able to find it yet.
Yeah, maybe I have to do a little bit more research there. 9315 says, thought you were mentioning Gentlemen's Club because of the very birthday venue for today. I don't think that's how Eric's going to spend his birthday.
No.
Probably not.
Some people choose to celebrate in that way, but not me.
Yeah, we're not going to get into that. Well, technically, we are going to sort of kind of maybe.
Yes, we are going to get into that. 5338.
You said that. We sounded way too excited when you said that.
5338. Texting in. Pac-12 school Oregon State released their basketball coach Tinkle. That means that college basketball has both a tinkle and a sprinkle.
Yeah, they should have played more often.
Yeah, Pacific Northwest more specifically had a tinkle and a sprinkle, but now they just have a sprinkle.
That's how you can describe their weather, as a tinkle and sprinkle.
Yeah, there's no more tinkle. Just a sprinkle.
Yeah, just a sprinkle. And we'll see how much longer that sprinkle lasts.
Yeah.
So the Utah Jazz, they played the Pelicans last night, and they lost, which is good to some perspectives.
Sadiq Bey, 42 points.
How do you give up 42 points to Sadiq Bey?
Zion Williamson had 20, 4, 4, and 4. 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, and 1 block. Pretty impressive game for Zion Williamson.
Yeah. Pelicans, they're trying to make a push. They, they're a team that doesn't own their pick. So even though they are / where I need to look at the,
their records are very similar. They're both 18 and 42 for New Orleans, 18 and 41 for Utah.
Yeah. So the Jazz have one less loss and they have the exact same number of wins. The Pelicans have won 3 consecutive games. One of those being against the Jazz, and these two teams will meet each other again very soon, Eric.
It's a weird scheduling thing. Occasionally this happens where a team will come into town and they'll just stay and they'll play like 2 days later or a day off in between. It doesn't happen all the time, but for whatever reason, this seems to happen often with New Orleans. I don't know why it's always New Orleans, but that's the way it is. The schedule works out. They played last night. Tonight's an off day. They don't play. And then they'll face each other again tomorrow. Is it tomorrow or Sunday? I think it's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow, February 28th. They will be taking, that's when they're playing again.
So I don't really hate that, that this happens from time to time. I think it can be, if you're a playoff contending team, this is good practice. Face a team, quick film study. We're going to face these same guys again. How do we make adjustments on the fly quickly and see how we do in the next game?
Yeah.
I think these are interesting to do. It doesn't happen very often, but obviously neither of these teams are going to the playoffs. But it will be interesting to see Saturday how things might play out differently with both of these squads having just faced each other.
Yeah, it's a little, maybe annoying. I don't know if that's really the right word, because sometimes it's fun to watch teams play each other twice in a row. Like in a sport like basketball, you don't necessarily want to be seeing teams 2 times in a row outside of a playoff series. There are sports like baseball where you might play a team twice in the same day, but that's just kind of a different sport and a different culture. But to me, I'm not going to bag on the NBA schedule makers because they have maybe these days they can hand this job off to computers. And it maybe makes their job a little bit easier, but the task of giving 30 teams an 82-game schedule and trying to avoid stacking, teams with maybe a tougher, schedule, like giving them homestands and road games and trying to avoid back-to-backs and trying to make sure travel makes sense so that you're not, You don't have a road trip where you go from like LA to Boston to Florida to, go to the four corners of the US.
Right. Yeah.
Like trying to put that all together, you're going to have some schedule quirks. And so it happens a few times a year. And to be honest, it probably is maybe something they even perhaps do a little bit deliberately for the sake of travel. Because, yeah, the Jazz, they played Dallas 2 games in a row at Dallas. Pelicans are obviously doing the same thing where they're in Utah for 2 days. Sometimes you do have the weird play a team twice in a row where it's one on the road, one at home. They did that with Minnesota this year.
Yeah.
They had ones where they kind of did that with Phoenix and LA, but there was a game in between. They hosted Phoenix, hosted Phoenix, hosted Portland, then went to Phoenix, went to LA, hosted Oklahoma City, hosted LA. So there's some of those. But yeah, the main thing with this is that the Jazz are playing the team that's ahead of them in the lottery standings twice. They lost the first leg, lose the next one. And, then your next few games are Denver, Philadelphia, another key tank game against, at Washington. But this is where you can get into that 5th spot where, again, the chance of falling out of, the protections for your pick drop to 0.6%. Right now it's 3.8. So I don't do the math. That's like 6.5 times less chance or something like that of losing your pick.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too with the Utah is that they did announce that Lauri Markkanen will be out for 2 weeks because of his hip. Apparently the NBA
sent its doctors
agreed with Utah doctors that the MRI was not doctored. And that
the guys in
legitimate.
suits showed up at Ryan Smith's house and said, "We want to see those MRI results.
That's right. Give us the evidence.
We want to examine the patient." But no, they just fax them to him, or however you send an X-ray or MRI results or whatever.
Right, it's kind of standard practice. So, he will be out for 2 weeks. So it's kind of a multi-pronged thing, right? It's like, okay, good thing it's not like really serious. Thank goodness it's not a real serious injury. But at the same time, Utah has another legitimate excuse why one of its top guys doesn't have to play, because you don't want to get too many wins here.
It's how convenient.
Yes. So, but it means they lean in more on Kyle Filipowski and Cody Williams, John Concher. Ace Bailey's going to get a lot more run because this plays kind of a similar position.
Yeah, Ace Bailey got 23 points last night, dang near fouled out, but then, and honestly, for the first time this season, I saw a name that I actually didn't recognize. Part of it's because he's only played 3 games with the Jazz, and I guess I just missed his signing. Blake Hinson.
Blake, who's that?
He plays for the Jazz.
He played 18 minutes last night.
Yeah, that's because of Lauri Markkanen. Like, I just somehow completely missed that this guy was.
Was he on a 2-way and got called up?
I don't think he was on, because I thought I knew the names of all the guys on a 2-way contract. So, but yeah, he's played 3 games for the Jazz. I believe it says he's played 3 games for the Jazz. He's averaging 8.7 points for the Jazz. So he's been playing. I haven't watched a Jazz game in a few days.
Against Memphis, he scored 13. Against Portland, he scored 11.
So yeah, that tells you how plugged in we are to watching these games, is we didn't even realize one of the players on the team.
Yes.
I blame it on the All-Star break. I haven't watched a Jazz game since the All-Star break.
I have watched few games for the Utah Jazz this year than probably since I was a young whippersnapper. Yeah. Or at least while I've been in the country. So I just have not really watched very many games for the Utah Jazz this season.
Problem is they're becoming less and less compelling to watch, because the reasons I watched them earlier in the season was I wanted to see Lauri Markkanen, Walker Kessler. Well, then that, obviously that went out the door pretty quickly watching Walker Kessler, but Ace Bailey, of course, now's the time to watch Ace Bailey.
Yeah,
because he's getting featured now.
You're right. There were times where I would justify to myself why I should be tuning in, because I want to watch the development of some of these young guys. Like, is this guy worth the investment that they're giving to him? Is he going to pay off, or is he just empty minutes? And so I really should be paying more attention now, because we're going to get more run from a lot of these young guys. Like, is Cody Williams, is he really starting to figure some things out, or is he's getting a lot of minutes because there are no other options?
He's getting minutes because he is somebody who is not currently actually injured.
Yeah.
But yeah, to me, like, this is the time to watch Ace Bailey. You watch Isaiah Collier. See if Keontae George, he's still working his way back from injury. If you're a Mo Bamba fan, he'll get in the game eventually.
He'll play this weekend.
Yeah, he was a DNP CD, but I think that was mainly because we just signed him.
Yeah,
so
barely joined the team.
He's not going to play just yet, so he'll get his chance in this next game. So some interesting things to see. They're probably going to lose, but I mean, the Pelicans aren't a fantastic team or haven't been a fantastic team. So we'll see if they're able to beat a. Yeah, this is almost kind of a pathetic rotation, to be honest.
Poor Kevin Love. Like, what happened to this guy?
He got old.
Yeah.
Same thing that happens to all of us.
This guy was an all-star. He was one of the top guys in the league.
Yeah, when he was my age. But yeah, not anymore.
But even on this roster, he's still not starting. He got 20 minutes last night, but.
Yeah. At this point, he probably doesn't want to start. Doesn't want to go through the hassle of running through the starting, during the announcing of the starters and all that. So, yeah, the Jazz. The main thing to watch at this point is for the development and to, if you can stomach it, root for the Jazz to lose, which I can never do when I'm watching them live. I can never root for them to lose while I'm watching them. I can only, like, if I'm not watching the game, hope that they lose.
Yeah, I'm
like
saying
that's
if there's a team that I'm invested in, I want to see them succeed. But you know what? For Utah, watch for Kyle Filipowski, watch for Isaiah Collier, watch for Ace Bailey especially. Bryce Sensabaugh, he's a scorer. Can he defend though? Can Cody Williams start to figure some things out offensively? So there are still reasons to watch to see who's going to make the team next year. Because there's probably a good number of the guys who will play on Saturday who won't be wearing Jazz jerseys next season.
Yeah, that's kind of the nature of this when you're this deep into your roster and signing a bunch of these guys. We got to take a break. We're probably going to punt the discussion on if the Jazz, the nice what-if scenario, if the Jazz were to get a top 3 pick, is there one of the prospects you would prefer over the others? Because we do absolutely have to talk about gentlemen's clubs, apparently. Eric's favorite topic.
Okay.
If you might have seen the news already today, guys were talking about it earlier here on 106.9 The Fan, the Fox Sports guys. So you may already know why this is coming up, but we'll explain a little bit more coming up next here on.
I guarantee it will be on the show after we get off the air.
Yeah, it definitely will be. We'll talk about that next year on the Full Court Press. Cache Valley's largest and most complete power sports service shop is now open at Young Power Sports Logan. They service all brands, all makes, all sizes, motorcycles, ATVs, UTVs, and more. No guesswork, no shortcuts, just trained technicians who fix it right the first time. Can-Am, Kawasaki, Polaris, Ski-Doo, they handle them all. In and out, done right, guaranteed. Pickup and delivery is available within a 25-mile radius. So get back on the road, the trail, or the track fast. Schedule your service call now at 755-7111. That's the Young Power Sports Logan Service Department, 755-7111. So, Eric, we've alluded to gentlemen's clubs about 4 or 5 times now. Explain to us exactly why this topic is now coming up.
Okay, so Atlanta is apparently known for more than just the Atlanta Hawks, the Falcons, the Braves. Apparently, there is a world-renowned strip club. I'm not going to call it a gentleman's club. It's a strip club.
We need to be professional and tact on this show, Eric.
It's a strip club. It's called Magic City, and it's been famous for a lot of athletes spending a lot of time there. Some players kind of got in trouble for skipping some things or spending too much time there, or apparently there's a player, Lou Williams, who apparently is famous for always saying that he loved their wings. Apparently they're kind of famous for the lemon pepper wings. So the Atlanta Hawks are doing a promotion to highlight and tribute a strip club, Magic City. They're calling it Magic City and American Fantasy. This is a crossover with a professional basketball team. And they're saying, like, there's a lot of, it's been an institution. They called it an iconic cultural institution. And it's been famous for a lot of things connected to hip hop.
For its culture, clearly.
Black culture. And they're going to have like a performance at halftime. They're going to be offering their famous lemon pepper wings.
Performance?
A
performance?
A hip hop performance. T.I. That kind of performance.
This sounds extremely family friendly.
Yeah. It's like, what are we doing? But I don't care if it's famous and has an impact on music and culture and sports. Like, what are we doing? Look at what this business is at its core. It's a strip club. Yeah. And we're joining forces to make a special night about a strip club?
But the wings, Eric. The wings and the culture.
It's not in my wheelhouse, so I don't get it.
I'm sure
maybe for some people this is the greatest cross promotion ever.
Sure, the people who work there have wonderful personalities.
But what it got me thinking, if Utah were to have some celebration for in air quotes here, iconic cultural institution, as they've put it with Magic City, what would you do in Salt Lake? What kind of promotional crossover would you do in Salt Lake to celebrate an iconic cultural institution?
I feel like there's really only one answer.
Well, I've got like 4 or 5.
Okay, list off yours. You probably know which one I'm thinking of, but list off the other ones.
Crown Burger.
Really?
I mean, who hasn't gone to a Jazz game at some point in their life, or maybe they haven't stopped by Crown Burger first?
I mean, I have. I should have, but I didn't. So I say I didn't stop by Crown Burger, but I notably remember that I didn't. So maybe that kind of proves your point.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Then, of course, there's the Mighty Five, Utah's national parks. And the Jazz have already kind of done something that with jerseys.
Yeah, they have a jersey
about
scheme. That. Like that, Utah won't stop promoing those. I mean, for good reason. Yeah, they deserve to be promoted.
Tied into arches and things like that. The other one is let's highlight the world-renowned skiing. Utah, the world's greatest snow.
That makes sense.
Great ski resorts, snowboard, skiing. The Olympics.
Have a greatest snow on earth night?
That's the term. I don't know what I was thinking. But yeah, greatest snow on earth. I got my words wrong. And then the last one was Tab Cats.
Yeah.
Which may connect with you, but
9 through 15.
Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square.
Yeah, 9 through 15. Actually sending that in right before you said that, saying have the Tabernacle Choir come be part of the game. Have they ever like sung the national anthem, or have like maybe bringing the whole choir in there, for just like bringing
Fill
like
the whole court if you bring them on there.
yeah, or maybe you could just bring them all and just have them all on the court and sing the national anthem, or have like half. I know they'll have, they can break them into a smaller group to do something like that, but like, yeah, have them in there or maybe just have the entire Tabernacle choir like in one section.
Yeah, but have them come out, sing the national anthem, and then tuck them up in one of the corners in the upper bowl.
Yeah,
and then have them like.
Yeah, have them like sing during the game.
Yeah, singing. And
have Mac Wilberg out there having them singing like,
the crowd
battle
going.
Hymn of the Republic.
From
My
the
eyes
rafters.
are seeing the glory of a Lowry Marketing 3.
Why not? I mean, we're doing promotional crossovers for iconic cultural institutions.
The LDS Church is more of a, cultural institution than a strip club. But I feel like somehow in this messed up world of ours, if they did of course, I guess there's a lot of teams that actually do a Mormon night or whatever. It's not a huge issue, but like, if the Jazz did like more than just a Mormon night, of course, I don't know, half the people in the arena are already Mormons. Anyway.
How's this different from last night?
Yeah, we're not selling beer this game, guys. That's our Mormon night.
Dirty sodas only.
Yeah, dirty sodas only. You'd probably cut the attendance in half if you did that. But yeah, if they did more than that, I don't know if they probably couldn't come up with a jersey or something. If they put like, church logo or like Angel Moroni on the jersey, do you think there'd be outrage? Because I feel like if they lean too far into it, the point I was about to make is that there might almost be more outrage about leaning into a religion.
Yeah.
Than a strip club, where there's not really any outrage over the fact that a supposedly family-friendly sports league is honoring a strip club and doing a halftime performance.
Musical performance.
Yes, music. There'll be music. There's just also,
I don't know about
there's
his
just
dancers.
there's also
going to be
other things
accompanying him while he's doing his performance. I can't speak to that.
Yeah, just keep your clothes on, guys.
Oh, boy.
Guys and girls.
Yes.
We got to take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap up the show here on the Full Court Press. Welcome on back to the Full Court Press. Jason Walker here with Eric Frandsen, the birthday boy.
That's right. Hey, and I just put our last question, our last segment, I put it in a poll, threw it out on X. Just want your votes.
We'll bring that poll in for tomorrow. We'll see.
Yes.
We'll see how many votes we can get in by the start of the show tomorrow. 2104. The important question: does anybody actually like the show after yours? I vote for a 3-hour Full Court Press year round.
Well, if you want to cover their whole show, we'd have to go longer than 3 hours.
That's true.
Sometimes they can be entertaining. I'll admit. Sometimes they can really get off topic and they just shout a lot. But
is it
I'll say they are better. They're better now than they used to be. When it was Chris Broussard and Rob Parker, it just sounded like they were yelling all the time.
It's because they both have a yelling radio cadence.
Yeah, especially Chris Broussard.
Like I don't know. I don't have as much of a radio cadence like in this talk show. I definitely have one when I'm calling basketball games. But theirs is just, I don't know.
Yeah, even when Chris, I like Chris and some of his takes, but even when he's interviewed by other guys, it's like in just kind of casual interview setting, it sounds like he's yelling. It's like, oh, dude.
Yeah, maybe I need to do it because my problem is I tend to be too kind of soft spoken, especially I'll get to the end of my sentences and I'm like, and this is why. Like you can't understand, and I start like almost slurring my words, like I've had something to drink before the show.
Yeah,
210
strong all the way through. Yeah,
2104 saying Rob Parker is insufferable.
What I do find fun about their show is how everybody else on that staff will go after Rob and make fun of him, and he laughs and he takes it in stride. So that is kind of
entertaining. It makes me feel like he's definitely playing a character with all the different people that he hates. Except that he does have actual influence because he is an actual, I think, baseball Hall of Fame voter.
Yes, he is definitely one of the few guys on national radio who really cares about baseball.
Yeah, except he has terrible takes. Well, I've never really heard his baseball takes. I just know his football takes are awful. I mean, if he's anything like he is with football, he's probably a terrible baseball analyst. But I'm not going to criticize the guy too much. We don't want to rag on him.
No, we want you to try to listen as much as you can.
Listen to us at the very least.
Yeah.
So as we finish up the show, I mentioned Eric, the birthday boy. Do you know what famous people were born on February 27th, aside from yourself and J.D. Walker?
Oh, I can't use J.D. Walker?
No, you can't.
Oh. At one point, I used to know because it was like a thing every year when you're watching news or listening to whatever. If it's your birthday today, you share a birthday with Marilyn Monroe or whatever.
I've looked up mine, and I don't think there's a single notable person. Like, technically there are names, but I don't know any of them. And yeah, but there's a few.
I probably knew at some point, but I forgot.
There's a few names that I at least recognize. Ralph Nader, that's one.
Wow, great.
I forget why he's famous. It says consumer
politician.
It says consumer advocate and politician. It's like that sounds about right, but I can't remember why his name is familiar to me.
Ran for president once,
as
probably more than once.
Yeah, Elizabeth Taylor, because she was the one who played Cleopatra. Wasn't
yeah,
at least that was a little more famous role. I'm sure she did plenty else. Joanne Woodward, John Steinbeck, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow.
Oh, wow.
Rembrandt
of a poem or something. Oh, and Rembrandt.
Yeah, although perhaps one of the most historically significant figures, none other than Constantine I.
Oh,
Emperor of Rome.
Wow.
So there you go.
Okay.
So you've got some interesting people that you share your birthday with.
Yeah, some weird politicians, some famous actors, actresses, some artists.
A lot of artists, and then an emperor of Rome. As you do.
Right. Yes. It's appropriate.
I was thinking of other emperors of Rome, because I was thinking of Julius Caesar, who was actually never emperor of Rome, but his birthday is in July. I think it's July 15th or something like that. So if you were born on July 15th, you share a birthday with Julius Caesar.
That is a random fact that you have stored in your brain. It just came out of nowhere. By the way,
here's when a Roman general and politician was born. In case you wanted to know. Yeah. So there you go. Those are. I just wanted to bring that up since I wanted to bring all the balloons that we had like taped to your door and bring them in, like tie them to your chair.
My wife snuck in while I was skiing and made a big display in my office.
Yeah. So everyone in the office knew, and heck, during half the commercial breaks, we had people sneaking in to wish you happy birthday.
I know.
Your brother said he was going to come in and sing happy birthday, then he never did.
Yeah, he ducked out.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Too bad for our audience.
Too bad for they already got me singing, so that was bad enough. But anyway, we wish you.
Hey, okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Make sure you hit the text line tomorrow before the game and wish JD Walker a happy birthday.
There you go
for Aggie Game Day.
Yeah, make sure to send the text line. What was the text line for KVNU again?
554-1179.
I think that's what it is.
Something like that.
And if you can't find it, it'll be in the game preview that we publish later tonight. But that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for listening. Another happy birthday to Eric Frandsen and, of course, JD Walker. Make sure to tune in on Monday.